All right. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, Judge.
How's it going?
Can't complain. And yourself?
Good, good.
It's a beautiful day in Los Santos.
Yes, it is. What case are we calling?
Your Honor, I believe today this primary case will be from the Mike Lowry versus PD.
All right. So this is a civil matter, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are both discoveries placed in the case file?
Yeah, Your Honor.
Yeah, Your Honor.
All right, perfect. So the order here will be we'll hear case summaries from the plaintiff because this is a civil matter. We'll also hear any arguments and evidence that will be introduced in this case. I would also like to understand the summary requested judgment, summary of the requested judgment, and we can go from there, gentlemen. So, um, Mr. Tiller, you are representing the plaintiff, correct?
I am, Your Honor.
All right, it's your show.
Good afternoon, court system of Los Santos. Amazing day to see you guys. We're going to be here for a case where Officer Mike Lowry versus Los Santos. It started on October 6th, a little bit ago, 2025. Officer Mike Lowry attended a command and staff meeting at the Vespucci Police Department, alongside several high-ranking officials, including the Commissioner Luna, Chief Hoff at the time, and Assistant Chief Peter Griffin. During the time, Captain Guy Jackson, a former member of the LSPD, became hostile towards Officer Dwayne Johnson and threatened to shoot him in front of the assembled command staff. When Captain Johnson followed through on that threat, firing his firearm and shooting Officer Johnson in the head, Officer Lowry, who we are here to speak on today, responded in accordance with department policy and use of force guidelines. Acting to protect the lives of everyone present, he discharged his weapon and neutralized the immediate threat. Despite his lawful and life-saving response, Officer Lowry was detained, verbally degraded, and terminated from employment within the hour without a formal investigation, internal affairs review, or due process hearing. Following his dismissal, command staff issued a department-wide no-contact directive instructing all officers, former co-workers of Officer Lowry, to no longer communicate with Lowry or Johnson, effectively isolating them and suppressing witness cooperation. This case seeks to prove that Officer Lowry's termination and subsequent blacklisting were unlawful, retaliating actions that violated both departmental and standard operating procedures and his constitutional right under the 14th Amendment. That is all I have for this summary, Your Honor.
Perfect. Thank you. That's a great summary of understanding here. So, is it your intent to argue that the officer opening fire in the department, subsequently resulting in his termination from the police department, was unjust based on the fact that there was no due process by the police department?
Correct, Your Honor. And we are also looking to get reparations for the PTSD that he was since diagnosed with from a EMS worker, officer, or I apologize, EMS worker Optimus Prime, for the situation that was handled at PD.
Understood. We can go through the evidence here.
Your Honor, before we proceed with the plaintiff's evidence, I'd like to make a note for the record.
Go ahead.
The DA's department only received the plaintiff's discovery around an hour prior to this prelim hearing. This matter's been open for nearly a month and no discovery materials were able to be provided until 2 p.m. EST. Since those discovery materials were provided, there's also been amendments and additions. As such, the DA's office has not had sufficient time to review the contents in detail or prepare a full response. The DA's office is willing, of course, to proceed in good faith today based on the submitted evidence, but asks that the DA office reserves the right to conduct a complete review and make any additional responses or objections once we've had proper opportunity to examine the plaintiff's discovery in full.
Understand. Mr. Tiller, from your plaintiff side, why are we just now having the discovery to the defendant?
Your Honor, this case was handed to me less than 24 hours ago. The former chief of defense failed to prepare anything in regard to the case. In terms of this, as of last night, after handling multiple cell reps, I began working on this, and then I finished it this morning. And I presented it to the proper channels.
Understood. Will allow the defendant an adequate amount of time to actually prepare for this case. I think you agree that it's probably the right thing to do.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, we can review the evidence here.
Am I going to start, Your Honor?
Yes, you can.
So Exhibit A, we're going to be going over the body cam footage provided by Mike Lowry in terms of the command meeting that was held at PD, Vespucci PD to be specific. At 02 seconds, there began a verbal exchange begin. Captain Jackson at the time can be heard making hostile remarks towards Dwayne Johnson and vice versa, expressing frustration over the prior disagreement on the uniform Officer Johnson was wearing. Within 10 seconds of the body cam footage, both men continued to argue despite senior officers being present and failing to do anything to de-escalate the situation. At 23 seconds, Officer Johnson reacts to verbal threats of... I apologize, Your Honor. I had the wrong one pulled up. Give me 1 second. I do apologize.
Yeah, you sounded a little defendant-y,
Yep.
you know?
Yeah, you're right. Captain Jackson, at Exhibit A, 1 minute and 56 seconds of the Mike Lowry body cam. Captain Jackson is seen escalating this conversation as Officer Johnson is attempting to talk about issues he was seen and known of in PD per the meeting as he asked at the time chief if he could speak. At 2 minutes and 12 seconds, Jackson issued criminal threats. Captain Jackson threatens Officer Johnson by stating, and I quote, "I am going to shoot you if you don't shut the bleep up." The bleep is the F word. I'm not going to say that here in court. As he stands up from his chair and unholsters his firearm. Officer Johnson states intent to press charges at 2 minutes and 37 seconds. Officer Johnson, after having his life threatened, criminal threats, expresses intent to press charges and begins to approach to cuff the now suspect, Captain Jackson. While Officer Johnson, at 2 minutes and 43 seconds, while Officer Johnson goes to place the captain in cuffs, Captain Jackson uses the already withdrawn pistol and shoots Officer Johnson in the head in front of everybody in the area, who is now bleeding on the floor from a head wound. At 2 minutes and 44 seconds, Officer Lowry unholsters his firearm and then neutralizes the now threat in the meeting room, Captain Jackson, who again is now bleeding. Exhibit B is going to cover Mike Lowry's body cam of the fellow officers being terminated. Assistant Chief Griffin at 12 seconds within the body
Sorry,
cam.
Your Honor, just on Exhibit A, the defence has no objections to Exhibit A at this time, pending full review.
Yeah, I was actually, you were beat me to it.
Sorry, Your Honor.
I apologize. I'm in the rest.
So I'll allow, based on review, I'll allow, and if this were to make it to trial, I would allow the defendant to review the information.
Yes, Ron. Am I going to proceed with Exhibit B?
You can move forward with Exhibit B.
Understood. It's going to be another body cam footage presented by Officer Lowry. Officer Maverick. Assistant Chief Griffin arrives in the hallway calling for Mike Lowry and Dwayne Johnson to come with him. At 18 seconds, Officer Maverick informs his coworkers to make sure their body cams are on and running. Within 40 seconds of the body cam, both Officer Lowry and Officer Johnson request a lawyer, to which at the time Assistant Chief Griffin says, "Get a lawyer," to the officers. 49 seconds, Assistant Chief Griffin places Officer Lowry in cuffs after multiple arguments back and forth. And then at 1 minute, arguments between Officer Lowry and the Assistant Chief continue. At 1 minute and 37 seconds, Assistant Chief Griffin continues to talk down on Officer Lowry, to which other officers state he can't, and I quote, he can't talk to him like that, referencing the professionalism expected from all officers, especially high command. That is all for Exhibit B.
Exhibit B will be accepted by the court pending the review of the defendant.
Understood. Exhibit C is going to be covering the use of force disclosure of the LSPD SOPs, section 601.2, the use of force disclosure. The biggest thing there is the Captain Jackson refused to do anything with a use of force. He openly pulled a firearm and shot the individual for an argument, which goes against their use of force policy.
If I may object to that evidence, Your Honour.
Proceed.
That evidence is around a different case. It has no relevance to the actions of Officer Mike Lowry.
Can I speak to that, Your Honor?
Sure.
Yeah, so the reason we are referencing this as Exhibit C is that is what caused Officer Lowry to have to neutralize Captain Jackson in the situation. If that would not have happened, then there would have been no reason for Officer Lowry to have to shoot Captain Jackson and then get PTSD from the situation. It does speak on the fact on why he has PTSD from the situation.
So,
Yo, can you let me?
so you're saying a highly decorated officer has PTSD from a situation that they face every single day.
Negative, Your Honor. I do not believe a highly decorated officer faces having to shoot their higher up, their boss, for lack of better terms, within a situation of them acting unprofessional and shooting their fellow officer.
If I can make a statement to that, Captain Jackson, Officer Dwayne Johnson, who Captain Guy Jackson shot, is not the captain's boss.
I apologize. I might have misspoke. I was referencing Captain Jackson being the boss, who Mike Lowry had to shoot
Okay.
because he did not follow the use of force disclosure or policy within the LSPD SOPs.
Interesting take, Mr. Taylor. I'll allow the descriptor of the use of force. I'll allow the defendant to argue against it in court. So I will accept Exhibit C.
Understood, Your Honor. For Exhibit D, it references the disciplinary procedures of the LSPD SOPs. Throughout this case, Officer Lowry was terminated. There was no verbal warning, no written warning, or suspension referencing any other situation. He was brought up to the office, as I said previously, with the body cam, and I quote, told to hand over his equipment, and he was being terminated. There's no due process with the termination. As per the LSPD 400.3 disciplinary procedures.
Okay, so but Mr. Taylor, I just want to ensure that I'm understanding exactly. So you're claiming unlawful termination, but based on your own evidence, termination could result from an action that is considered gross misconduct.
Actually, Your Honor, it comes down to arguing on if the action itself was gross misconduct.
And so you feel on behalf of your client that the conduct by the LSPD was in essence unjustified because of their naming shooting another officer as gross misconduct.
I'm claiming, Your Honor, that their termination for Officer Lowry in reference to him having to neutralize Captain Jackson, that itself is not the gross misconduct. Captain Jackson shooting another officer for no reason was because there was no threat. Captain Jackson became a threat at that time. Officer Lowry was not doing any gross misconduct in what I'm referencing. He was neutralizing a threat on what he believed could have possibly injured more officers within the area.
Understood. Yeah. Mr. Weinsmith?
No objection to that, Your Honour.
All right. Exhibit is accepted. You may move on, Mr. Tiller.
Exhibit E, Exhibit Echo, is going to be covering the LSPD SOP duty to report and whistleblower protection when it comes down to referencing part of the reason why we believe they were terminated came down to an argument and Officer Johnson, I apologize, speaking up, which is what started that whole confrontation between him and Captain Jackson within the meeting before the discharge of firearm. He was speaking up on what he thought were issues, and the response of him and his friends, him and his coworker, was him being shot and terminated.
If the state could object, Your Honour, based on foundation.
Sure.
So the reason that the officers were terminated was made clear from their actions, not previous conversations or arguments. I don't understand the foundation of this evidence.
The evidence, Your Honor, is referencing the beginning and why the meeting was held. The meeting was held due to an argument with the uniform. And then it came down to, at the meeting, Officer Johnson, I apologize, openly saying, hey, here are some issues that we are seeing, openly bringing up to, at the time, I believe the chief, on what he believes are issues with an LSPD. And then things proceeded to him being shot, Lowry having to shoot, and then them both being terminated. It is in reference to, we believe that one of the reasons they were terminated, on top of him having to neutralize a threat, was because they were speaking out on issues of the LSPD.
And you're referring to Officer Johnson, correct?
It was Officer Johnson and Officer Lowry who were both speaking out, Your Honor. Officer
Okay.
Johnson was speaking out within the meeting. Officer Lowry and Johnson were together in terms of speaking out on the issues.
So I just want to make sure I'm following the foundation of your case in relationship to the actual evidence that you're presenting. So Officer Johnson raised concerns, just overgeneralizing, raised concerns about the LSPD, which resulted in this meeting occurring. Is that what you're saying?
Correct, Your Honor.
Once this meeting occurred, obviously you're saying, or your account is, that tensions were flared in this setting, which resulted in another officer pulling a weapon and
Correct.
Officer Johnson, in essence, used his weapon in retaliation to the other officer that posed a threat from your perspective.
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay. I actually think this is highly related in terms of the foundation here, so I will allow this descriptor here on Exhibit E.
Understood. Moving on to Exhibit F, Your Honor. It references LSPD SOP on chain of command and accountability 102.2 and 304.4, reporting and addressing unethical orders, and responsibilities of supervisors and command and staff. Going along within the instant of the said meeting, higher ranking officers stood there, watched it happen, and did nothing to de escalate or deter the actions that were taken, which further added to the whole situation of Mike Lowry and Officer Johnson, being terminated from LSPD.
We're still here if you're still talking.
That's what I was saying. That's all I said, Your Honor.
Oh, thank you. Mr. Weinsmith?
No objection to this.
All right, Exhibit F is accepted.
I do believe I did mislabel the exhibits. I do apologize. After Exhibit F, it should be Exhibit Echo or E, not another Exhibit F. I do apologize. But Exhibit, what should be E, is going to be diagnosis of PTSD from EMS CCTV camera Part 1. And then there is also, as well as a Part 2. At 0001 seconds, Mike Lowry begins his appointment with EMS. It's going to be a Optimus Prime, former LSPD member, now EMS member. At 1 minute and 12 seconds, Mike Lowry expresses the incidents that transpired with the PD situation, informing the EMS worker on what happened and transpired. 2 minutes and 46 seconds, Mike Lowry expresses concern for backlash, including physical harm, for speaking out on the incident. At 2 minutes and 59 seconds, EMS worker Optimus Prime acknowledges the situation and the feelings of Mike Lowry. 4 minutes and 9 seconds, Mike Lowry expresses concern about feeling safer to leave the city limits for his own safety from LSPD. And then at 4 minutes and 33 seconds, Mr. Prime states Mr. Lowry passed PTSD regarding the incident that transpired at Vineland PD, showing and diagnosing the client with PTSD from the situation. That is all for Exhibit E.
All right, Mr. Winesmith.
A couple of objections on this one, Your Honour. The first one is there's no video submitted with those exhibits, so the state can't review the video footage, only timestamps.
I apologize. Does that link not work for you guys?
No, that's just a file name. There's no link there.
Okay, Your Honor, we can correct that if you allow that.
Yeah,
I
we
was
can-
understanding that link would still work.
We can pend Exhibit G as long as you supply the link within 24 hours.
So, Your Honor, Exhibit H will be into the same situation of needing to be pending in that situation. Am I still good to go along with timestamps as of right now? Or no?
I'm good with the timestamp for the purpose of the discovery.
I've still got two more objections, Your Honour, for Exhibit G.
Okay, Mr. Winesmith.
Secondly, it's the credibility of I suppose 2 and 3 are the same. The credibility of the evidence in the EMS worker, not a qualified psychiatrist, and also former PD member, which could show bias and ill intent towards the PD, depending on the reasons for their dismissal.
Interesting. Mr. Tiller, is the medical professional trained to diagnose?
From my understanding, Your Honor, he was. That is from what I've seen within the last 24 hours. We can confirm that. At the same time, Your Honor, if possible, we have no issue with having a EMS worker provided from the opposing side presented who can diagnose the individual going through the same process to confirm the diagnosis.
If I may on that, Your Honour, that's saying that the diagnosis has not yet been carried out and can't be submitted as evidence.
Your Honor, that's not what I was saying. What I was saying was if there is any questioning the matter on if the diagnosis is valid, we have no issue with confirming that. It's more of us trying to put a peace of mind of, yes, this was a diagnosis from a medical professional. Us trying to help out the everybody understand, yes, this was a medical professional
Yes, it is.
who is
I got a
eligible
question.
to state this.
Shoot.
Very interesting.
What's the
I'd love to
question?
understand a little bit
The
more,
guy
so I
that
will
did
pend
the
Exhibit
thing
G,
is not
pending
certified for that.
any level of credentialing for
What
that
thing?
particular
The PTSD,
medical professional.
the doctor they're talking
So, Your
about.
Honor, for Exhibit H, it's going to be the same situation.
I
It's
can
part
confirm.
2 of the CCTV camera. Would you like to pen that,
Yeah,
or
we
would
can
you like to
talk-
go
we
through
can
the
talk about that
timestamps for
after-
that before we move
after
on
the
to
hearing.
Exhibit I?
Okay.
I think we can review the timestamps, but my
My bad,
concern
Saul.
would be if this person is not a medical
I didn't mean to
professional.
bump you.
So I'd rather hear
Nah,
it
you're
here
good,
than
dude.
in the full court.
Understood, Your Honor. So, pending the timestamps for Exhibit H, at 0001, Mr. Prime expresses concern for Mike Lowry's mental state. 0057, Mr. Lowry expresses fear of the state government resulting in loss of sleep and needing to, and I quote, sleep with one eye open. Timestamp 108, Mr. Prime expresses that he has worked with Mr. Lowry and can speak on his character as a witness. Minute 2:22, Mr. Prime gives Mr. Lowry his number and says that Mr. Lowry ever needs to talk due to the diagnosis to let him know, and he will drive all the way out to Sandy, showing concern for Mr. Lowry's condition based on the situation that presented itself.
In addition to the original objections from Exhibit G, Your Honour, for Exhibit H is potential collusion of 2 friends who used to work together. One who previously was a PD officer, still undetermined why they're no longer a PD officer.
Your Honor, for the reference of them colluding and being friends, Mr. Lowry had no recollection of Mr. Prime at the time until after they talked. He did not understand or know that Mr. Prime was a former PD until he was told.
If that's the case, Sean, I don't understand how they've worked together as the PD and how that statement's credible.
When it comes down to when you work with people, there's certain people that you just don't really pay attention to, but they may pay attention to you. And that's referencing Mr. Prime. He may have seen the work of Mr. Lowry. That doesn't mean Mr. Lowry knows or has seen the work of Mr. Prime or has any recollection of Mr. Prime.
It's very interesting take, Mr. Tiller. Very conflicting statements as well. I'm going to allow circumstantial use pending the credentialing of this officer, of this medical professional.
Understood, Your Honor, and we will also do the same thing for the CCTV camera footage to be shown. I'll be corrected at the end of this hearing.
Understood. Thank you.
Are good to move on to the final exhibit, Your Honor?
Exhibit I,
Aye.
correct?
Yes, Your
All
Honor.
right.
So, Exhibit I, it just covers the announcement for forcing officers to cut contact. At the time, Captain Edwin Zook states, and I quote, "Hello, everyone. For the time being, no one is to have contact with Mike Lowry or Duaney until after the court case is settled and done." This comes from Peter Griffin, the at the time assistant chief officer who fired both individuals. We believe that this is to cut ties and
Still talking there? Mr. Tiller?
Uh-oh.
Can anyone else hear him, or is it just me?
No,
No, nobody else can hear him.
No, I can't hear him as well.
Oh, okay, got it.
Mr. Tiller, if you can.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
I apologize. I'm not sure why that happened. I'm just going to restate what I said, Your Honor, if that's okay with you. I apologize for the issue. It's just covering Exhibit I, which is the at the time captain stating that he is forcing PD to cut ties with Mike Lowry and Duaney until after the court case is settled and done. The reason this is relevant is it was issued just after the termination of officers constitutes direct evidence of retaliation, witness intimidation, possible witness intimidation, and due process violation by LSPD command. That is all, Your Honor. I apologize for the voice box issue again.
Mr. Wansmith?
I have a couple of objections, Your Honour. It might be one, it might be three, depending on how they go. The first objection is whether this is valid and admissible in court. A recent DOJ announcement stated valid admissible evidence in court to be official reports, ticketing system evidence, body-worn camera, CCTV footage, and statements and affidavits through official channels.
Is everyone's voice box going crazy today?
Sorry, Your Honour. I understand the issue there. That was my voice box. It's whether it's valid and admissible in court. The DOJ statement was that official reports, ticketing system evidence, body-worn camera footage, CCTV footage, statements and affidavits were admissible in court. It makes no mention of email announcement channels as being a official sworn affidavit or witness statement.
Interesting. So would you say, Mr. Winesmith, that the announcements serve as a notice to the entire department?
I would, Your Honour.
So would that not be admissible in court?
It's not specifically mentioned in the valid admissible court notification that we got, as repeated official reports, ticketing systems, body-worn camera, and statements and affidavits.
I think that's pushing it, Mr. Winesmith. I think if a statement is official and sent to an entire department in an official channel, I think that could be admissible.
Based on that judgment, Your Honour, I'd like to also question the collection of that evidence if the plaintiffs were no longer in the LSPD at the time.
That's a great question, Mr. Tiller.
Your Honor, the collection of the evidence, while they may have not been in PD at the time, that does not mean that they do not have friends in PD who may have passed that along and said, "Hey, you guys are not allowed to talk to us anymore."
So can I question the provenance of that evidence, Your Honour, if LSPD officers are
Absolutely.
sharing official announcements outside of LSPD channels?
Okay.
Sorry, can you restate that?
Yeah, I'm challenging the provenance of that evidence based on LSPD officers taking official announcements and sharing them outside of LSPD channels against LSPD policy.
How was this evidence obtained, Mr. Tiller?
Your Honor, there's evidence relevant to the case that I have seen within the emails that was also informed to me by my client within the ticket system of the DOJ.
Your Honour, I ask that we don't
So-
accept this evidence based on we can't ascertain the provenance.
So, Mr. Tiller, to Mr. Winesmith's point, if those channels are specified or specific to the officers of the LSPD, right? The intention is for those to not be distributed as they're deemed as official announcements to the department. Would you agree?
I would, Your Honor, I have no qualm with striking that from the evidence.
I would. I think that's a great idea here. So I will deny Exhibit I for that purpose.
Understood, Your Honor. With that, that will be the last piece of evidence tied to the case with Officer Lowry from my side.
Understood. Mr. Tiller, in terms of your
Oh.
witness list, can you name your witness list here?
Oh, I do apologize. Yes, Your Honor. So the witness list will be Casey Echo or EXO. These witnesses were provided to me from Mike Lowry. Casey Echo, May Sakura, Craven Maverick, Ethan Griffin, and Tony Fuos. I apologize if I mispronounced someone's name.
Okay, are these intended to be witnesses to the situation, to the character, to...
So at the time, Your Honor, they are intended to be witnesses to the situation. Being as the case was handed to me less than 24 hours ago, I'm still attempting to gain contact with the individuals. I do have planned to meet a couple of them today. But we are still
Understood.
working on getting contact with them.
And what damages is your client seeking?
So give me 1 second, Your Honor. My client is seeking $500K for emotional damages and public embarrassment for the wrongful termination. He is also looking for his job and Dwayne Johnson's job to be reinstated in a formal apology and announcement about how he was wrongfully terminated and embarrassed due to the PTSD. They is going to be referencing, at the time, Assistant Chief Peter Griffin publicly humiliated him by declining the offer and stating, and I quote, "You bring nothing to the table worth bringing Dwayne back."
All right, Mr. Tiller, if you can put that in your additional information
I can't, Your Honor, I
on your
apologize.
discovery, that would be great.
Your Honour, if I can ask a question around the witness list for the plaintiff.
Sure.
Can we understand who those people are? As in their
We can't.
role in the situation, their rank, what job they hold.
We can't, Your Honor. So again, as this was dropped on me very shortly ago, I'm still working on getting their specific ranks. But as my understanding, all 5 individuals are at the time were witnesses to the situation, whether that be the meeting or the termination of the individuals, Mr. Lowry and Mr. Johnson.
Are
Within
there
the
any of
LSPD.
these active LSPD officers?
I would have to double check to confirm that answer, Your Honor.
I think if they're active LSPD officers, number one, I would think we would need to work with the DA's office to ensure that there are evidentiary protections in terms of their rights. They're absolutely informed. And if they are active LSPD officers, I would like that to come through a formal subpoena for specific information so this court can understand exactly the use of their testimony.
Mr. Your Honor, that's no issue. From the looking at as of right now, 3 of them are still active LSPD.
Yeah. So which ones are those? If you could just indicate that on the discovery, I'd rather see a formal subpoena for their testimony. I'd like to understand exactly what the intent of their testimony will contain. I think that's for the protection of those officers.
Understood, Your Honor.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Winesmith, for calling that out there. All right. Thank you, Mr. Tiller.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All righty, Mr. Winesmith.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right. And you are representing the LSPD, correct, Mr. Winesmith?
That is correct, Your Honor.
All right. You can proceed. Sure, show.
Thank you, Your Honor. The defence would like to present Exhibit A, which is body camera footage from Mike Lowry at the PD command meeting. The timestamps are as follows.
Mr. Winesmith, because this is a civil case, you mind just giving me a quick summary of the position of your client, also the defendant?
Absolutely, Your Honor. So during a scheduled command staff meeting, Officer Dwayne Johnson attempted to illegally detain Officer Guy Jackson without authorization or instruction from any member of High Command. The situation rapidly escalated when former Captain Jackson discharged his firearm, striking Johnson. In immediate response, Officer Mike Lowry drew his firearm and shot Jackson, resulting in multiple gun discharges inside a secure command environment.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Exhibit A, Your Honor, Mike Lowry body cam of the PD command meeting that was provided. Timestamp 2 seconds. The verbal exchange begins with Captain Guy Jackson can be heard making hostile remarks towards Dwayne Johnson, expressing frustration over prior disagreements. At 10 seconds, there's an escalation of tension where both men continue to argue, despite senior officers, especially the chief, Jack Hoff, being present and trying to de-escalate. At timestamp 23, Johnson reacts to the verbal threats. Jackson makes another remark perceived by Johnson as a threat, and Johnson responds, "That's a threat, I want to press charges." At timestamp 26, Johnson declares his intent to detain, and Johnson states, "I'm going for cuffs," and moves towards Jackson within a second of making that statement. At 0028, physical contact's initiated where Johnson reaches towards Jackson, appearing to attempt to restrain him, and then Jackson reacts by stepping back, visibly alarmed. Guy Jackson, with his firearm, opens fire, striking Officer Johnson. Officer Mike Lowry responds immediately with no other warnings, drawing his weapon, returning fire at Jackson, and Jackson struck and incapacitated.
Okay. Mr. Tiller, any objection?
Your Honor, we are going to object to one of the situations. He said, and I quote, Jackson reacts by stepping back, visibly alarmed. Captain Jackson did not step back. As soon as Officer Johnson went to detain Captain Jackson for the criminal threats, he immediately pulled the weapon up and just shot him. There was no visible alarmment. That is misinterpreting or missaying what happened in the body cam.
Your Honor, this will be shown on the body cam footage if this case goes to trial.
Okay, I'll allow it. I'll accept Exhibit A. Mr. Tiller, you have your opportunity to argue this footage in court.
Sounds good, Your Honor.
Exhibit B provides the governing policy on the use of force disclosure, requiring officers to issue clear verbal warnings before discharging a firearm whenever it is safe and feasible to do so. The policy lists explicit Explicit examples of required commands, drop the gun, put the weapon down are examples, and emphasises that lethal force must be a last resort when all other options have failed or are unavailable.
Your Honor, we are going to object to that as well. There was no chance to give these lawful demands of putting the weapon down, as well as the Captain Jackson should have known the situation. As soon as he shot, Officer Lowry did believe that he was going to shoot others as well, being as they were friends of Officer Jackson in the vicinity. And he believed that he was going to be an active threat, which is why he was neutralized.
Interesting. Similar to your discovery, though, Mr. Tiller, this is simply just the department's policy. I'll allow both of you to argue these points in court.
Thank you, Your Honour.
So I'll accept Exhibit B.
Exhibit C, Policy 102, Chain of Command and Authority as governing guidance for all sworn personnel. The policy establishes that officers must respect and adhere to command structure, carrying out lawful orders and maintaining clear communication within the chain of supervision. It further stipulates the proper channels for reporting concerns or unethical directives. This evidence is submitted to show the framework of command responsibility and compliance applicable to Officer Mike Lowry during the events in question.
Mr.
No,
Tiller?
no objection, Your Honor.
Awesome. Exhibit C is accepted. You can move to Exhibit D.
Exhibit D, Your Honour. The department submits policy 400.3, disciplinary procedures defining the framework for corrective actions in response to officer conduct. The policy specifies that while minor infractions may result in verbal or written warnings or strikes, immediate termination may be applied in the case of gross misconduct without the need for prior strikes. This evidence is offered to show that the department's decision to terminate Officer Mike Lowry fell within the established disciplinary authority and complied fully with the termination provisions set forth under this policy.
Your Honor,
Mr. Tiller?
we do have an objection in reference to the gross misconduct.
Okay.
Per the policy, there was no gross misconduct to enact this policy, which makes this Exhibit D obsolete in reference to being used against Mike Lowry.
This is also the same policy that you submitted, Mr. Tiller.
It is, Your Honor. I'm referencing there was no gross misconduct. There shouldn't be a reason why he was being classified as gross misconduct for neutralizing an active threat.
Your Honour, that statement's still to be proven in court.
I'm inclined to agree. Again, I just want to make sure I'm understanding correctly, Mr. Winesmith. You have an officer pulls a weapon, right? Another officer retaliates against the weapon for Mr. Tiller's statement that they feared that this particular officer would potentially accost other lives, correct? Is that the argument? And subsequently, the department is making the decision to terminate that employment because they felt as though the escalation in the scenario was unwarranted and unprofessional. Is that what you're arguing?
Correct, Your Honour. I'm not here to discuss the actions of Guy Jackson or condone them. However, it's the response from the officer once the initial threat was finished after he'd shot Officer Dwayne Johnson, how he then escalated the situation by firing more shots in a PD command environment.
But is it not foundational, because would this action have happened had the preceding actions did not occur, if they did not occur?
Based on the reasons why they happen, Your Honour, but this is to specifically discuss the actions and response of Officer Mike Lowry at the time.
Understood. I'll accept the exhibit here.
Thank you, Your Honour. For the witness list, we have Chief Jack Hoff, who was present conducting the meeting and attempting to de-escalate the altercations between Dwayne Johnson and Captain Guy Jackson. Assistant Chief Peter Griffin, who was the officer charged with terminating the employment and removing equipment, and Officer Captain Antonio Nems, who was a witness to the entire scene, Your Honour.
Mr. Tiller?
All right, no objection, Your Honor.
All right, the witness list is accepted. Any other details from the defendant's case, Mr. Winesmith?
None at this time, Your Honor.
Have we discussed a potential court date?
Not yet, Your Honour. We have discussed a potential for a settlement hearing between this date and that set court date, but we haven't got anything planned.
Understood. One thing I will say is if I can order this case to arbitration prior to, and if there's a need for a court appearance, then we shall do so.
Thank you, Your Honour. The
And-
defence would appreciate that.
Understood. I would like formal review and decisioning by 11/5/25. So, Mr. Winesmith, Mr. Tiller, hopefully we can get this court date scheduled and or settled by that date.
Understood.
Understood, Your Honor.
Any questions?
No, thank you, Your Honour.
Perfect. All right. So in the case of Lowry VP LSPD, we'll go ahead and adjourn this session pending an 11/5 follow-up.
Thank you, Your Honour.
All
Thank
right.
you, Your Honor.
Okay. So we have another matter here scheduled, correct?
That's correct, Your Honour.
Yes,
All
Your
right.
Honor.
What case is that?
It's going to be Dwayne E. Johnson versus LSPD, Your Honor.
Oh, lovely. All right, same order of business here. Mr. Taylor, you're representing the plaintiff, correct?
I am, Your Honor.
Are the discoveries in the case file?
They are, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Tiller, if you can provide me a summary of the complaint, and we can go from there.
I apologize. I was a little stuck, Your Honor. Your Honor, this case is about an officer who was following his training, upheld the law, and was nearly killed for it. During a command and staff meeting, Captain Guy Jackson threatened to shoot Officer Dwayne Johnson in front of multiple high-ranking officials. When Officer Johnson attempted to lawfully detain him for making a criminal threat, Jackson drew his firearm and shot him in the head in the middle of the department's headquarters. Instead of protecting the victim or seeking justice, the LSPD retaliated. Officer Johnson was fired the same night without investigation, medical review, or due process. The evidence will show that the department violated his disciplinary procedures and ignored his protection and attempted to silence a victim of on-duty violence. This case is about accountability and ensuring that no officer is punished for doing what is right.
Okay. And what evidence are you intending to present?
You're going to start with Exhibit A. Exhibit A is going to be covering the body cam from Mike Lowry at 1 minute and 56 seconds. It references the verbal exchange. It's going to be tied back to the same evidence for the previous case. Captain Jackson is seen escalating conversation as Officer Johnson is attempting to talk about issues he has seen and knows of in the PD. 2 minutes and 12 seconds, Jackson issued a criminal threats. Captain Jackson threatens Officer Johnson by saying, and I quote, "I'm going to shoot you if you don't shut the F up," as he stands up from the chair and unholsters his firearm. At 2 minutes and 37 seconds, Officer Johnson states intent to press charges. Officer Johnson, after having his life threatened, expresses intent to press charges and begins to approach to cuff the now suspect known as Captain Jackson. 2 minutes and 43 seconds, discharge a firearm. While Officer Johnson goes to place the captain in cuffs, Captain Jackson uses the already withdrawn pistol and shoots Officer Johnson in the head, who is now bleeding on the floor. 2 minutes and 44, fellow officer Lowry unholsters his firearm and then neutralizes the now threat in the meeting Captain Jackson, who is now bleeding on the floor. And that covers Exhibit A.
Mr. Taylor, I see. It would seem as though a lot of the evidence is the exact same as the case with Mr. Lowry. Is that right?
It is, Your Honor. So it's the same incident, so the same leading up causes in the same situation that happened. The same timestamps within the body cam are are relevant to both cases, Your Honor.
Are there formal differences in the two cases?
There's a couple, Your Honor. A lot of it comes down to Mike Lowry in the previous case is also going for the PTSD. Officer Jackson is mainly going for the wrongful termination and hostility based from PD. As the primary
Officer
differences between the
Johnson
two
or
cases.
Jackson?
Johnson, the individual who shot Captain Jackson, the individual who did shoot.
Okay, but the claims are the same, the unlawful termination or no?
The unlawful termination, yes. The only difference, Your Honor, is the other case includes the emotional distress based off of PTSD.
Okay.
Sorry, Your Honor.
Mr. Warnsmith.
It was discussed whether we would do these two cases as one class action. However, the circumstances in which the officers were fired were for completely two different reasons.
Okay, so Mr. Till, are your arguments just different, or the angle of your argument different, or these seem eerie similar?
It would be the same evidence, Your Honor, leading to two different cases with two different arguments.
Okay. Mr. Winesmith, are you willing to accept all of the evidence as the same?
I'm willing to accept certain exhibits as the same, Your Honor. Just one note, as the previous one about the timing of the release of this discovery is the same as the previous. And also on Exhibit A, there is there's gaps between the timestamps which don't show the full situation. If I may give an example.
And are those gaps covered in your discovery?
They're not, Your Honor, because this body cam footage was not made available to me until prior to this hearing.
Oh, so this is another one you haven't had the opportunity to review, correct?
Correct. These two were released at the same time, Your Honor.
Understood. I think you can review the discovery information, and we could challenge the potential body camera footage in a court session if need be. But I would think it's important for you to review prior to.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
So with that, I think it's for the sake of similarities. Mr. Weinsmith, you can accept that the evidence is the same without accepting the validity in terms of your response to the argument. Would you agree?
Yes, Your Honor. We accept Exhibit A as the same.
Okay. All right. So I'm willing, Mr. Tiller, unless there is something drastically different, I'm willing to accept all evidence pending review by the defendant's attorney.
There is nothing that is tragically different, Your Honor.
Perfect. And I noticed the witness list is also the same.
Correct, Your Honor. The subpoenas will be submitted by COB today.
Understood. So my direction would be the same in terms of any active officer for the LSPD.
Yes, Your Honor.
What damages is Mr. Johnson seeking in this?
I also have to add that to the additional information, Your Honor. But it would be he is requesting the same in reference to the 500K damages for emotional distress and wrongful termination. He is not requesting employment within LSPD.
Understood. All right, that is understood. All right. Anything else you would like to add?
Negative, Your Honor.
All right, evidence will be accepted pending review from the LSPD attorney.
Understood, Your Honor.
Mr. Weinsmith?
Yes, Your Honor.
If you can just give me a summary of the defendant's take on this one.
The summary is similar to the last, as this was the event that was leading up to it, where Officer Dwayne Johnson attempted to illegally detain Officer Guy Jackson without authorization or instruction from any member of high command. This this was based off the back of a heated, frustrated argument and nothing criminal or lawful.
And Mr. Winesmith, uh, further review looks as though your exhibits are the same, with the exception of Exhibit B, maybe.
That's correct, Your Honour. Exhibit A, C, D, and E are all the same as the previous. However, Exhibit B is additional.
Okay, we can review Exhibit B here. If Mr. Tiller's willing to accept that the additional
I am.
pieces of evidence listed as exhibits are the same.
I am, Your Honor.
Perfect. All right, Mr. Winesmith, could you review Exhibit B, please?
Certainly, Your Honour. Certainly, Your Honour. 1 second. So, Exhibit B relates to the firing and removal of LSPD equivalent equipment of Dwayne Johnson. At timestamp 3, the Assistant Chief orders Dwayne Johnson to drop department issued equipment. At timestamp 5 seconds, Johnson questions the order and Griffin replies, "Because you're getting fired." Timestamp 27, Griffin states that the department will not tolerate disrespect towards fellow officers. Timestamp 32, Johnson shouts that he'll disrespect the expletive out of Assistant Chief Trump and refuses to comply. Timestamp 032 to 035, continued refusal to remove LSPD equipment and constant questioning. Johnson is made aware he's going to be cuffed, and he's cuffed, and his equipment is removed for safety, and then he's released. 0041, Johnson mocks Assistant Chief Griffin, saying that everybody thinks he's an expletive cop. 0048, Johnson boasts, "I love getting people fired," implying retaliation from the plaintiff. 0056, Assistant Chief Griffin asks if Johnson thinks he's acting on his own. Johnson continues arguing. That statement is around he's been ordered to make the firing, and it's not Assistant Chief Griffin who's doing this because he feels like doing it. 0059, Johnson states that Griffin only acts this way because he's only got one power in his life. Johnson then adds at 0105, "You're being an expletive weirdo, though." At timestamp 0114, Johnson makes a personal remark about Griffin's former partner. Both exchanged heated comments after this point. From 0135 to 136, Griffin reasserts his authority that he's not going to allow him to disrespect our people, searches for gear, and removes all of the gear. 0206, Johnson mutters, "If we're going to get weird, I'll get weird," again indicating future retaliation. 0220, Griffin clarifies he was ordered to carry out the termination. 0234 to 0310, Griffin processes Mike Lowry's equipment and directs Dwayne Johnson to leave the premises. 0323, as Johnson exits, he calls Griffin a fat neck. This evidence is just to show the attitude of the officer towards command and the way and the disrespect, which will be brought out in witness testimonies as well, Your Honour.
No objection from my side, Your Honor.
Perfect. No objections. Understood. This court will accept that evidence here.
Thank you, Your Honour. No changes to the witness list. Same 3 officers.
Understood. The same direction for this one. I'd like to hear a decision by 11-5, which includes any attempts to arbitrate. If no deal is reached before 11-5, I'd be looking for a court date that's agreed upon on your side by 11-5 for the court. Mr. Tiller, I'm going to be very clear about this case. This court will not allow any level of smear campaign against any officer of the LSPD by your clients. The court, in the same argument, would not allow any smear campaign against your clients. So I'm expecting your clients to act professionally in these proceedings. And if they can't do so, we will handle that accordingly. But I'm going to issue, in addition to that, a gag order to your clients, as well as the LSPD, on any specific details outside of the immediate legal representation. So I should not see these incidents or any of these arbitrations on Birdie or any other social media outlet. I hope that's extremely clear, Mr. Tiller.
No disagreements, Your Honor.
Just one
Thank you.
note on that, Your Honour. We haven't presented as evidence and we're not looking to bring charges for it, but based on the statement you just made, that was the direct action of both employees as evidenced on Birdie and hosted protests outside of the LSPD.
Understood. That's why I issued an official gag order in this means, so I shouldn't see any of these situations for Mr. Lowry and Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Your Honour.
All right. Any questions about this matter?
No, Your Honor.
No, thank you, Your Honour.
All right. Perfect. Thank you. And I look forward to hearing from both of you about these two matters by 11/5.